Got my G.I. Joes, got my comic books, watching cartoon episodes. Watch me go and box, dead stock, Jaren on his toes. Watch me go and lock a whole new world you never know. On my freaking block, on my block, anything Joe's. Roll my badger into work today. Yes sir, no sir, I can't call this work today. I'm too clutch, ain't no pun intended. Call me sir today. Check the prices out, my collection feeling bird today. Anything Joe.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe. My name is Greg Engel.
And I'm Jaren Decker.
And we'll be your host today. Today on Anything Joe's, it's another file card focus, which is something that's kind of caught our attention. And we went to the old randometer and spun the wheel, and the character that came up today was Big Boa, which is a pretty good choice. I enjoy characters that need a little bit of fleshing out, much like our other one, Recoil. Big Boa doesn't get a ton of screen time, face time, comic time, figure time. But it is a figure that we've seen in the classified line, so I knew as soon as the name was picked that Jaren would at least be familiar with the look of the character. An unusual character, to say the least. So without further ado, let's take a look at 1987's Big Boa. He only had one vintage figure, and I do have it here. He's such a funny, no shirt having guy. Big Boa came with a very minimal set of accessories, and I actually have most of them. He has a breather tube. He has two boxing gloves, which have a Cobra logo on the outsides of them. Mine actually look pretty good considering the state of my collection. He's got a little wear. And then I don't know if I have it, but it wasn't over there. But he also has a little punching bag on a stick that he would come with, and that was it. There are no guns on this guy. His fists only. That's his claim to fame. His helmet is so unusual. We'll talk about it when we get into this, like the odds and ends, but it's so unusually futuristic looking. Great figure, and like I said, it was the only vintage version that they made. It's a running theme, I guess, because there's only one only one modern version of Big Boa as well. And it comes to us from the figure subscription service. The club, in their very first wave, if I'm not mistaken, released a Big Boa, and I have it here. Despite this is an expensive figure. I didn't get into the FSS until about the fourth wave, so all these guys I had to buy secondhand. Easily a $100 to probably $150 figure, more on card. I try to buy this stuff loose because it's cheaper loose, and these figures are so, as I just mentioned, very expensive. I definitely paid over $100 for this Big Boa, and he came with a similar accessory set. He also has a punching bag that I don't have here because it's just there's nowhere else to put it. This is actually a really solid modern figure. It holds up really well, looks really good, and it captures everything. Oh, they added a tattoo, Jaren. Look at that, a long-running trend of adding tattoos where they don't belong on figures. But it looks really good otherwise. Maybe
you can't talk crap about any figure having a tattoo now. They did it back then. Right? They're still doing it today.
So show me the classified figure, Jaren, since we have that version with us as well.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up. I tried to copy your pose, but
first time we see him unmasked. Such a weird, not what I would have expected.
No, I think they kind of leaned into.
I
think they kind of tried to homage a little bit of the Rocky as well, like give him just a little bit of that, like Adrian,
yeah,
and really heavily into the boxing, looking like he got punched.
Mm-hmm. Do you like this classified figure?
I don't know. So the problem I have with Big Boa, and it's every incarnation, is like, why does he have actual boxing gloves? Like, I get it if he's a boxer, but like, they're bad guys. Why do you have safety? Like, why aren't they just like taped up so you don't hurt yourself? Why not just like go actually punch these guys with your bare hands?
We'll get into that when we discuss.
I'm
the
not that
character.
into the boxing terminology. Really, the only problem I have with the figure itself is I had to check it. It's figure 114, and so this is a long way into the line, figure 114, and it still has pins in the arms, both in the upper and lower part of its arms, which isn't really that big of a deal, but like it's just weird that like every other figure in the wave that I can remember, like Airborne, they had the pinless technology, so they just look a lot cleaner. And this looks to have whatever older arms.
Lazy.
You're really probably what happened.
Your boxing analogy is relevant because we think that Big Boa was created as a foil to Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa was long rumored to be an in-the-works G.I. Joe figure. Not really a rumor because in one of the Order of Battles, there's a file card for him. And in the following one, he's in 1, and in 2, they put a retraction saying, "Oh, we were just sorry about that. He's not a Joe, and he never has been, and he probably never will be." And the behind the scenes on that was that Sylvester Stallone, they couldn't reach an agreement. I had heard talk that there were other Sylvester Stallone movie property toys like Rambo, like that were kind of opposing, I guess, in terms of sales. So it fell through. I actually have a custom Rocky Balboa based on that Order of Battle. This is kind of what they think that figure would have looked like. And I don't know if they would have. Cool. I mean, it makes sense actually that he would have included boxing gloves. He's probably, in hindsight, they've designed this to match the Big Boa instead of the other way around. But I thought this was a cool little novelty. You know, what might have been, could have been. I don't know if I think a Rocky figure probably would have been about as popular as this Big Boa figure is. Now, a Rambo figure would have been insanely cool. But, yeah, I mean, like...
Yeah, I like of the Sylvester Stallone properties that he did. Rambo and stuff like that are not where they went. They're like, yeah, let's go with the boxer. Like that's the guy we want on G.I. Joe.
And you might think to yourself, well, Rambo is an extremely violent property that wouldn't be for kids, but you would be wrong because there are 60 plus episodes of a Rambo cartoon out there that existed in the 80s. Well, let's not even get. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. It did not matter if you were not old enough to see the movie, they would make a cartoon version of it for you. So anyway, that Rocky's for another day. We're going to hear to talk about Big Boa. Let's take a look at Big Boa's bio and see if we can kind of get an idea of how he fits into the Cobra organization.
Codename Big Boa. Cobra Trainer. File name unknown. Cobra troopers can be an unruly bunch at times. They aren't motivated by patriotism, unit loyalty, honor, or sense of duty. It takes a brutal, unfeeling taskmaster to whip them into fighting trim, and Big Boa fits the bill to a T. He has a voice like a bullhorn, fists the size of frozen turkeys, and the disposition of a rabid grizzly bear.
Big Boa kicks open the Cobra Barracks door at 0500 and makes everyone do the low crawl up the mountain while pushing a bowling ball with their noses. Then it's a 20-mile run through the bramble thickets, more push-ups than you want to know about, and a 2-mile swim upstream with flak jacket and helmet. After breakfast, he starts on the hard stuff.
We don't know who's giving us that quote. It's not Big Boa. Doesn't have the verbiage of a Cobra commander either, so I'm always interested in where these quote pulls are from. So that's basically one of the only real pieces of like background data we have on Big Boa. I'm not saying he's never been used. He is in the comic in multiple continuities. There's a female version in one of the IDW runs that I remember, but for the most part, it's flash in the pan stuff. He's very rarely the center of attention or on the team at all. And I mean, I think we've pretty much put a pretty solid push pin on why. He doesn't have any weapons. He's specifically listed as a trainer. He is not the sort of guy that would go into field combat. He's supposed to make the troops better, and through the standard, Cobra manipulative, grind them into dust, and only the strongest survive. I got a bunch of different analogies for working people hard until they're super strong. So, Cobra trainer Big Boa. Obviously, let's flesh that out a little bit. Do you think Big Boa is responsible for training everybody that walks in, that signs the little piece of paper that says I'm on the Cobra forces now? I mean, I'm talking, well, let's just say every person that doesn't get their own cool code name. Troopers, Vipers, officers. Do you think he has to, do you think they all have to go through this sort of like, I mean, like basically evil basic training?
I mean, maybe. I mean, it sounds like, because it doesn't mention anything that seems hyper, like, individualized. It's just general fitness and stuff. I mean, I guess maybe. That would make sense to me. If you read that, and it's just running, it's low crawls, it's push-ups, it's, like he's kind of like the gunny, just yelling at people, or the drill sergeant just barking orders, telling them to run faster, get up earlier, making their life absolutely miserable, which that's what they get for signing up for a terrorist organization, I guess. But he gets joy out of it, I guess.
Yeah, I think all that checks out. I also envision him as kind of like a bad drill sergeant. He's got this weird breathing mask on that kind of makes him sound like, they say bullhorn, but I'm envisioning more like a healthy Darth Vader. And so, so that like deep, ominous voice, would be intimidating in itself. There's no real clarity. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I do want to talk about Big Boa's helmet. So that kind of in itself explains why we don't see Big Boa, because that suggests that he's training probably hundreds of dudes every single day, all day, around the clock. Like, if it's just him and the Cobra organization, which is a unlimited, manpower wise, they've got people all the time. So my guess would be that he's always at, wherever, Cobra Island, wherever the main base is, and he's just constantly putting people through the drill. Maybe that's why so many Cobras can't cut it in hand-to-hand combat. It's because they've only got one guy training them, and they're like, oh, I haven't had my basic training yet. I'm queued up. I'm number 4,634 in line.
Yeah, they've got like their little badges that have like little boxing gloves on them that say they went through boxing training, and really all it gets them is concussions. They don't actually learn anything.
They have like sashes that they wear like Boy Scouts, and hey, this is my got punched by Flip badge.
I like to imagine that he's got his, like, I'm going to call them, for lack of a better term, his own little boa constrictors. It's like just a couple dudes that just help carry people out when he's done beating the crap out of them. Like, that's it. They're not even actually, like, they're just like really failed recruits, but he's okay with them. He's like, yeah, you guys take those new guys out of here. And they just drag them off when they fail.
I do love that G.I. Joe is such a long-running and versatile property that we have people like this. Like, it's the equivalent of having like a guy that does nothing but repairs computers, which we do have, or a guy that just keeps track of the money, or the guy that just goes to court. Like, we have all of those characters.
I've got a question for you. Do you think that Big Boa, before, like, in some of the continuities, before Cobra reveals themselves, do you think he's the one they send to like the high schools and have the kids do pull-ups for free T-shirts? like, is that what he's doing? He's got his cool helmet.
I don't think this guy, helmet or not, is going to be allowed anywhere near a high school with no shirt and very unusual. Like, they're not suspenders, and they have spikes on them. He's just like throwing out some real negative BTSM energy the restraining orders on this man are probably the real reason he wears the helmet. So let's talk a little bit about the helmet, because it's really the only part of his like whole vibe that is that stands out. That kind of I want to say it doesn't fit because you don't box with a helmet like this. But if you were a rebel, fought for a rogue team of villains, and wanted to get the upper hand, I guess maybe you would put a huge piece of armor on your head before you go into boxing, just to give yourself an upper hand, to cheat a little bit, basically. Now, why he felt the need to make it look like a Battlestar Galactica Cylon helmet, I'm unclear on. Unless you want to, maybe sorry, I start thinking about something and then I'm developing it on the fly. Maybe there's an intimidation factor that goes along with the helmet as well, and not just the voice speaking. But yes, the whole aesthetic is, you can't see my face. I have a crazy voice. You can't punch me. I look like I'm from the future. I don't have a shirt. I have spikes everywhere. You will do what I say because it's clear that I'm a bit of a sociopath. Like there's a whole thing there. And then I guess the breathing tube is just for practicality. Like if I'd like to think that if somebody pushed him in the water, that it has some kind of oxygen thing going on and he could survive. That's an extremely unlikely scenario based on the fact that we just determined he probably never leaves the Terradrome. But the whole point of Falcard Focus is to dial in on the unusual stuff. The only thing we have that suggests otherwise is your figure, Jaren, which is, again, the first time I've ever seen him without his helmet on. And, again, I would have expected him to look not disfigured, but like, like everybody that's ever been in the UFC for longer than a year, they their ears don't look good. It's hard to make eye contact with most parts of their face.
Their nose is
it's like sideways. Like that's kind of maybe the detail for now for a classified figure couldn't do that, but that's kind of what I would want. The hokey, like I'm missing a tooth, like the Chuckles figure has. That's a little too cartoony for me. This guy, I want to believe that this guy has fought all the time before he joined Cobra, and that's how he got good, is that, he's taking his licks too. Just an idea.
All right, Greg. So to go back, and now I will admit I was wrong. He does, at least in the classified, he does come with just wrapped hands. So my question to you is, if he had to see combat, is there a point where you think he gets a gun, or you think he just sprints at him, is like, I'm throwing hands?
Well, the thing about Cobra figures is they never have like military specialties because they're doing their own thing. So we don't really know like what's his other area of expertise. I would have to assume a guy that trains these guys physically as much as this has got to also have enough combat experience, to be able to aim a gun and take care of business. We've never seen it happen. He'd have to take his gloves off just to pick it up, but I could see it. I don't think that would be anything. He's got to at least be as qualified as, whatever the worst Cobra that has a name is. I don't want to put him down there with the officers and the troopers. He's got to be better than that. They wouldn't have let him pick his code name if he couldn't at least do a little bit of sniping or a little bit of accuracy with his shooting. So
he'd just be called like Punch Viper or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would. Based on the era that he's from, which is late '80s, we haven't quite jumped the shark yet in terms of insanity. But I could totally see this guy coming out like maybe 3 years later with a vehicle that launches him into combat. Like he think about it. Think about it. There was tons of spring-loaded stuff towards the end of the line. He's protected in this like little one-man vehicle, and then you push a button, the cockpit pops open, and it fist first launches him into the fight. I think that would have been great, quite frankly.
Honestly, that feels like a missed opportunity.
Big Boa's
Badger.
Big Boa's battle brawler
and launching him into the instead of shooting the little missile on top, it just shoots Big Boa at him. That would be awesome.
Big Boa's battle brawler with spring-loaded technology. Coming soon to a mirror universe near you. That would be really fun. I do think that would actually, it's just stupid enough to fit in with the end of the line, but still silly. It's just like, I don't know. It's It would be funny. It would have been the kind of thing I would have played with as a kid at the right age. There is definitely an age where you could have been growing up at the end of G.I. Joe, but you were young enough that all the stuff they were throwing at the wall would legitimately stick, like space dinosaurs and all that stuff. For those of us that were already kind of growing up and had grown up on it, it was just a little too much. I enjoy it now, but at that time it was definitely tough. Probably because they weren't tapping me for great ideas like the Big Boa Battle Brawler.
What if he has like the little guns and they shoot like Green Arrow, how he has the boxing glove arrow? He can shoot boxing glove missiles at people. Like
that would be amazing.
Listen, maybe that's the next HasLab. Maybe we broke the news first here.
Little punching drones that fly in the air and track their targets and punch.
Yeah, it's like, what if I wanted to punch that guy way over there? I've got a drone for that.
I got a drone for that. That's how when he trains them and they get beat up, the drones pick the guys up and pull them off to the side. All right. That's going to do it for File Card Focus today. As always, with any File Card Focus, we would love to hear feedback from the community on how you've utilized this character. Doesn't matter to me if you used him this way as a kid. Is this how you envision him now? It's all time is a flat circle for me, at least. I enjoy hearing how people grew up with Big Boa. How do you, when you start to outgrow the kind of silly parts of Big Boa, how do you make it still fit in a modern world and make it cool? I like talking about stuff like that. Do you have an iconic Big Boa moment that I've forgotten? Not just the one where not where he turned into a woman, but there are some Devil's Due stuff with Big Boa in it that I'm kind of skipping over because I didn't feel like they were super impactful. But if you are aware of a Big Boa like MVP moment, I'd like to hear that as well. You could reach us on all of our socials at Anything Joe's Pod. Jaren runs the Instagram and I run the Twitter /BlueSky/X. And we would love to hear from you. We'll be back in 2 short weeks with something, don't know what, anything, where anything's available for discussion here on Anything Joe's.
A metal door swings wide, the morning chill bites hard. A roar shatters the silence, a titan stands on guard. With a voice that shakes the earth, commands that cut like steel. He drives the weary onward till there's nothing left to feel. Big Boa! Marching through the fire, through the pain we rise. In the grip of the merciless, where the weak meet their demise. Pushing through the struggle, in this relentless drill. With fists like cinder blocks, he bends us to his will. Big Boa! No trophies of glory, no tales of bloody fights. Just the sound of heavy breathing under harsh fluorescent lights. With every low crawl forward, he's waiting to ensnare. Every failure is our